Do you understand my English but can't speak like me? You know the words, you understand movies, YouTube podcasts, but when it's time to talk, you freeze, you hesitate, the words disappear, your mind goes blank, and all that confidence you had while listening suddenly vanishes when you're expected to speak. But listen to me, it's not your fault. You've been learning the wrong way. You studied grammar rules, memorized vocabulary, maybe even passed exams. But real conversation? It feels like another world. That's because you never used the right method. And that's about to change. Try shadowing. It's a science-backed technique used by polyglots all over the world, people who speak multiple languages fluently. What's the secret? Simple. You listen to a native speaker and you repeat what they say, sentence by sentence, word for word. Tone, rhythm, emotion. You mimic it all. You become the echo. You become the shadow. And over time, your brain adapts. It stops translating. It starts thinking in English. The hesitation fades. The words flow, and most importantly, you speak. No more translating everything in your head, no more freezing in the middle of a sentence, no more watching others speak while you stay silent. Just real progress, natural, powerful progress that builds with every single repetition. And the best part? After just 1 week of shadowing, you'll see results. Your mouth will move faster. Your brain will keep up. You'll sound more natural, more fluent, more alive in English. Trust me. So if you're ready, grab a cup of coffee, take a breath, and stay with me for the next 60 minutes. Because today, we're not just talking about English. We're talking about you, your voice, your confidence, your freedom to express who you are in another language. You've been holding back for too long. This episode is your breakthrough, your guide, your practice partner, and maybe, if you stay with me until the end, your turning point.
And hey, I'm Peter, your host here at the English Talk Show. I'm not here to sell you some magical solution. I'm here to give you something that works, something that's worked for me, for my students, and for thousands of learners who once felt exactly like you do right now. And that something is shadowing. We'll break it all down together. What shadowing really is, why it's effective, and how you can start using it today, right now, during this episode. We're not just going to talk about shadowing, we're going to do it together. I'll speak, you'll repeat. I'll guide you through it, step by step. By the time we're done, you'll already have taken your first real step toward fluent, confident speaking. Now, and listen, if you're shy, or if you feel embarrassed about your accent, or if you think you're too old, too busy, or just not good at languages, let me tell you something important. You're not behind. You haven't missed your chance. You're not broken or hopeless or stuck. You are simply one method away from fluency. One method that finally speaks your language. One method that makes sense to your brain. One method that connects listening and speaking and unlocks your voice. Shadowing doesn't care how many times you've failed. It doesn't care where you come from or what your level is. It only asks one thing, that you show up, that you speak out loud, that you trust the process. If you've got ears to hear, a voice to speak, and the courage to repeat after me, then you are ready. Not perfect, not fluent yet, but ready. So, are you in? Then let's begin.
What is shadowing? Let's talk about shadowing, the method that completely changed the way I learned languages, and the one that's going to change the way you speak English. Now, I know the word shadowing might sound a little mysterious if you're hearing it for the first time, but trust me, the concept is simple, natural, and incredibly powerful. In fact, you've probably done a version of it without even realizing. Think about it. Have you ever found yourself repeating lines from a movie just because they sounded cool? Maybe a quote from a superhero film or a line from your favorite actor? That moment when you say it out loud, trying to match their voice, their rhythm, their style, that is the foundation of shadowing. But here's the key. When you do it intentionally, with consistency and structure, shadowing becomes one of the most effective ways to go from silent understanding to confident speaking. Shadowing is all about listening and repeating, immediately and out loud. You pick a native speaker's voice, like a podcast, YouTube clip, or even this episode, and you echo what they say, sentence by sentence, phrase by phrase, matching not just the words, but the intonation, the speed, and the emotion. You become the speaker's shadow, hence the name. Let me show you how it works. Ready? I'll say a short sentence, and I want you to repeat it right after me, out loud, even if it feels silly, even if you're alone in your room. Let's try it. I want to speak English fluently. Go ahead, say it with me. I want to speak English fluently. Nice. Let's do another. Learning to speak is different from just studying. Say it with me. Learning to speak is different from just studying. Now notice something. You didn't need to translate. You didn't need to think. You just heard and spoke. That's the magic of shadowing. It creates a direct connection between your ears, your mouth, and your brain. No middle step, no pause. Over time, this rewires how your brain processes English, from something you understand to something you can produce instantly. Shadowing was popularized by language learners who speak not just one or two, but 5, 10, even 20 languages. Polyglots. These people aren't superhuman. They just found what works, and shadowing is at the top of their list. Why? Because it mimics how we learn as children. Think about it. Babies don't start by reading grammar books or memorizing lists. They listen, they repeat. They copy the adults around them until the sounds start making sense. Shadowing taps into that same natural human process. Now, I won't lie to you. Shadowing takes effort. It's active, not passive. You can't just lie on the couch and expect magic to happen. You've got to engage. But that's the beauty of it, because the more you engage, the faster you grow. It doesn't matter if your pronunciation isn't perfect. It doesn't matter if you mess up the words. The important thing is you're training your mouth, your memory, your muscle. Let's try another round together, shall we? I'll say a sentence, and you repeat it. Let's do 3 of them this time. English is becoming easier every day. Your turn. I can feel my progress when I practice speaking. Now you. Shadowing helps me think in English, not translate. Say it again with me. Beautiful. Now, here's a tip. When you're doing shadowing practice on your own, pause the audio after each sentence. Replay it if you need to. Focus not just on what they say, but how they say it. Where does their voice rise? Where does it fall? Are they speaking fast or slow? Are they emotional or calm? You want to copy all of that, because communication isn't just words. It's rhythm, feeling, flow. And if you're worried about your accent, let me remind you, the purpose of shadowing isn't to erase who you are. It's to enhance your clarity, your confidence, your connection with others. You don't need to sound exactly like an American or British speaker. You just need to speak in a way that flows naturally. And that's exactly what shadowing helps you do. So the next time you're watching a YouTube video or listening to a podcast, stop for a moment. Don't just listen passively. Hit pause, rewind, say the sentence out loud. Become the shadow of the speaker. Bit by bit, your mouth will get used to the patterns. Your tongue will learn the dance of English. And your confidence, it'll start to bloom. I'll be here to guide you every step of the way, and we're going to practice a lot more together in this episode. So don't worry if you don't get it perfectly right now. This is just the beginning. And what matters is that you've started, you've spoken, you've engaged, you've shadowed. And that is the first step to finally speaking English out loud, fluently, and freely.
The science behind shadowing. Now that you know what shadowing is, let's talk about why it works so well. Because this isn't just a nice idea. Shadowing is backed by real science, neuroscience, language acquisition studies, decades of research into how the brain learns new skills, especially languages. And once you understand what's happening in your brain when you shadow, you'll never want to skip a day of practice again. Let's start here. Your brain is a pattern machine. It learns not by memorizing, but by absorbing and recognizing patterns. When you were a baby, no one gave you vocabulary lists. You didn't study grammar books. You listened, repeated, listened more, made mistakes, and slowly got better. Shadowing takes that same natural learning process and supercharges it. Because when you shadow, you're giving your brain the exact kind of input it craves. Real, authentic, meaningful sentences spoken by real native speakers in real time. You're not just learning about the language, you're experiencing it, as if you were already part of the conversation. Your ears are tuned to the rhythm, melody, and music of English. Your mouth is trained to move in sync with native sounds. Your brain, hearing and speaking almost at the same time, starts forming deep neural connections between the words you hear and the words you say. It's not just memory, it's muscle memory. It's fluency being built, one repetition at a time. Now here's something fascinating. Studies in neuroscience show that when you speak a language out loud, even if you're just repeating what someone else says, your brain lights up in multiple areas, not just the language center. We're talking about motor functions, auditory processing, memory retrieval, and emotional association. Shadowing activates your brain like a full-body workout. It's not passive learning. It's immersive, active, dynamic.
Let me give you a practical image. Imagine a bridge between your brain and your mouth. In most learners, that bridge is shaky. It's full of holes. That's why you understand English in your head, but freeze when it's time to speak. You have the words, you just can't get them out fast enough. Shadowing builds that bridge, brick by brick, until speaking becomes automatic, natural, effortless. Here's another amazing fact. Shadowing helps train your working memory, the part of your brain that holds information temporarily while you use it. When you listen and repeat at the same time, your working memory gets stronger. That means you become faster at forming sentences, remembering vocabulary, and processing grammar in real time. You're literally training your brain to think in English, not translate from your native language. And don't worry if your accent isn't perfect at first. The goal isn't to sound like someone else. It's to develop your own confident, fluent voice in English. Over time, as you keep shadowing, your pronunciation improves naturally. Your intonation becomes more expressive. And best of all, your fear of speaking fades away. So when you shadow, you're not just learning English, you're rewiring your brain to be an English speaker. You're turning passive knowledge into active fluency. And every minute you spend shadowing is a minute closer to breaking through that invisible wall that's been holding you back. Still with me? Great, because in the next section, we're going even deeper into the step-by-step breakdown of how to shadow like a pro. You'll learn how to practice, what materials to use, how to measure your progress, and how to make shadowing a powerful daily habit.
Why traditional methods fail. Let's be honest for a moment. Most of us have spent years trying to learn English the traditional way. Textbooks, grammar drills, vocabulary lists, translation exercises. We've all been there. We memorize irregular verbs, we underline articles, we fill in the blanks in countless exercises. And yet, when the moment comes to speak, to actually use the language in real time, we freeze. Our mind goes blank. We try to form a sentence, but it's like trying to solve a puzzle under pressure. Everything we learned seems to vanish. Why does this happen? Because traditional methods teach about English, but they don't train you to use English. It's the difference between studying a car manual and actually driving the car. Reading about how to use the brakes or shift gears doesn't prepare you for what it's like to be behind the wheel on a busy street. And the same is true for language. Traditional learning fills your head with knowledge, but it doesn't build the muscle memory you need for fluent speech. You know the words, but your brain hasn't been trained to deliver them automatically, and automatically is how real communication happens. Think about how you learned your first language. You didn't study it, you absorbed it. You heard it every day. You mimicked your parents. You repeated what you heard. You didn't sit there analyzing grammar. You just spoke, made mistakes, and got better through practice. But most English learners have been trapped in a system that reverses that process. Instead of listening and repeating, you're analyzing and translating. Instead of speaking naturally, you're building sentences in your head like Lego bricks. And that's slow, awkward, and totally disconnected from how real conversation works.
Shadowing flips that. It bypasses the academic approach and taps into how the brain really learns to speak. No more thinking in your native language and translating. No more trying to remember the rule about past participles before you say a word. Instead, you listen and speak, again and again, until your mouth, your brain, your ears, they all start working together. Until English becomes something you feel, not something you calculate. Now, I'm not saying that grammar and vocabulary are useless. Not at all. They have their place. But if you've already studied English for years and still can't speak with ease, then it's clear. Traditional methods haven't done the job. They gave you knowledge, not fluency. They gave you rules, not rhythm. And most importantly, they didn't help you build the confidence to speak, because they never trained your speaking muscle in the first place. Shadowing trains that muscle. That's why so many polyglots, people who speak 5, 10, even 15 languages, swear by it. It's not because they're geniuses. It's because they use methods that actually prepare the brain and body for real communication. So if you've been stuck, frustrated, and feeling like fluency is just not for you, maybe it's not you that's the problem. Maybe it's the method. And if that's the case, don't give up. Just switch the method. Because fluency is not a talent. It's a habit. And shadowing is how you build it.
How to shadow properly, step by step. So now you're probably thinking, okay, Peter, I'm convinced. Shadowing works. But how do I actually do it? And that's the right question. Because, like anything in life, it's not just what you do, it's how you do it that makes the difference. You can't just repeat words blindly and hope for magic. Shadowing is powerful, but only when done with purpose and consistency. So let me walk you through the exact steps to get started today. No special app, no expensive course, just your ears, your voice, and a commitment to show up. First, you need the right material. Don't overthink this. Choose content that is spoken clearly by native speakers. Podcasts, YouTube videos, TED Talks, even scenes from Netflix. It's all fair game. What matters most is that the speaker's voice is natural, not too fast, and uses real conversational English. If you're a beginner, go for slower content designed for learners. If you're more advanced, pick material you enjoy, like your favorite actor giving an interview. And here's a golden tip. Pick voices you like. You're going to be repeating after them, so choose someone whose tone and rhythm feel good to your ears. That's your new speaking coach. Now, the actual process of shadowing. Step 1. Listen to a sentence, just one sentence, and repeat it immediately after. Not later, not after thinking about it, right after. Don't pause the audio. Try to keep up. This is key. Shadowing isn't about perfection, it's about rhythm and flow. If you miss a word, that's okay. Keep going. You're training your brain to follow natural patterns, not memorize lines. You're building reflexes like a musician playing along with a song. At first, you might stumble. You might feel silly. That's normal. But keep pushing. Day by day, your brain starts to adapt. Let's try it right now. I'll say a simple sentence, and you repeat it after me. Ready? I want to speak English fluently. Your turn. Say it out loud.
Now again, but with emotion. I want to speak English fluently. Feel the difference? It's not just about words. It's about intonation, emotion, melody. Shadowing teaches you all of that in one powerful exercise. Next, focus on pacing and rhythm. Native speakers don't speak word by word. They speak in chunks. For example, we don't say, I want to go to the store. We say, I want to go to the store. That's how shadowing helps you stop translating in your head. It rewires your brain to hear and reproduce these language chunks, the real building blocks of fluency. At first, it may feel too fast. You may feel like you're chasing the speaker. That's good. That's the workout. That's where progress lives. Now let's talk about tools. You don't need anything fancy. A pair of headphones, a phone, YouTube, maybe a podcast app with playback speed control. Some people like using a transcript. That's great for checking later, but when shadowing, try to do it by ear. Your goal is to develop listening and speaking together, like a loop. And remember, record yourself. Seriously. It's uncomfortable, I know, but it's powerful. When you listen back, you'll hear things you didn't notice before. You'll hear improvement over time. And you'll build confidence because you'll start to sound more and more like the people you're shadowing. Finally, make it a habit. 5 minutes a day is better than 1 hour once a week. Fit it into your routine, in the shower, while making coffee, on a walk. Turn shadowing into your daily vocal warm-up. You don't need a classroom. Your voice is your classroom. And every time you repeat after a native speaker, you're teaching your brain to speak more naturally, more confidently, more fluently. So now you know how. No more guessing, no more waiting. You've got the method, the steps, the tools. All that's left is to do it. Beginner, intermediate, advanced. Customize your shadowing. Now, here's where many learners get it wrong. They try to copy native speakers using advanced TV shows or fast YouTube videos right from day one. That's like trying to lift 100 kilos at the gym before you've learned proper form. Shadowing is powerful, yes, but only if it's done at your level. One of the greatest advantages of shadowing is that it's completely customizable. Whether you're just starting out, stuck in the middle, or already advanced but struggling with fluency, shadowing can be shaped to meet you exactly where you are. Let's break this down. If you're a beginner, your goal is not to sound perfect. Your goal is to train your ear and get used to moving your mouth in English. Start small, one sentence at a time. Choose very slow, clear audio, children's shows, beginner podcasts, simple dialogues. Don't worry about understanding every word. Just focus on repeating the sounds you hear. For example, take a phrase like, "How are you today?" You listen, pause, repeat. How are you today? Again and again. Try to match the rhythm, the melody, the emotion. Even if your pronunciation isn't perfect, your brain is learning how English feels. It's not just about information, it's about imitation. So don't rush. Stay with short, simple content until your brain starts catching the patterns naturally. Now, maybe you know some vocabulary and simple grammar, but full sentences feel intimidating. That's okay. The key for beginners is to keep it simple. Don't start with fast, native-level conversations. Begin with slow and clear speech. Things like, English learning podcasts made for beginners, children's audiobooks, or simple dialogues. Think short sentences like, "This is my house," or "I am going to the store." Your goal isn't speed, it's clarity and rhythm. At this stage, you don't need to understand 100% of the words. You're training your ear and your mouth to move in English, to feel the flow. So take your time. Press pause when needed. Shadow one sentence at a time. If you can't repeat the sentence, it's too advanced for now. Switch to something simpler. And remember, repetition is your best friend. Do the same audio 5 times, 10 times, even 20 times. That's how the brain learns.
Now, let's talk about intermediate learners. Maybe this is you. If you're at the intermediate level, this is where you really start building momentum. You already know a lot of vocabulary. You understand most slow or moderately paced English, but your speaking still feels mechanical or hesitant. This is the perfect stage to practice shadowing with real-life content, like podcasts, just like this one, interview clips, or movies with subtitles. At this level, use the pause technique. Play a sentence, pause, repeat. Play the next one, pause, repeat. But now, push yourself to say it exactly like the speaker. Not just the words, the tone, the emotion, the rhythm. For example, listen to a sentence like, "I've been thinking about that a lot lately." Instead of just repeating the text, imitate the mood. The way the speaker says, "I've been thinking about," there's a rhythm, maybe a drop in tone, maybe a pause in the middle. That's what you copy. This is the shadowing that upgrades your fluency and makes you sound natural. Maybe you can understand a lot, especially when reading or watching with subtitles. You've studied grammar, maybe even had conversations before, but you still struggle to speak naturally. Here's where shadowing becomes a powerful bridge between understanding and fluency. At this level, you can start shadowing with more natural materials, podcasts by native speakers, movie clips, YouTube videos, interviews. Still, don't pick something too fast at first. Choose speakers who speak clearly. And now, you want to go beyond repeating. You want to match. Match the tone. Match the rhythm. Match the pauses. Try to sound exactly like the speaker. This is when you start sounding fluent, even before you feel fluent inside. And trust me, when your mouth starts moving with natural English, your brain will catch up faster than you think.
And if you're advanced, but still feel like something is missing, maybe you speak fluently, but not confidently, or you feel your accent is too strong, or your speech doesn't quite flow. Shadowing becomes your polishing tool. At this stage, you want to shadow authentic, fast, real-life conversations. Think TED Talks, Netflix dialogue, interviews with native speakers. But here's the trick. Don't pause. Do what's called simultaneous shadowing. That means you listen and speak at the same time, like echoing a second behind the speaker. It's hard. You'll trip up. You'll fall behind, but you'll also force your brain to process English at native speed. And little by little, something magical happens. You stop translating.
You start feeling the language, the pauses, the contractions, the emotion, and your speaking becomes automatic, like riding a bike after years of walking. Maybe you've studied English for years. Maybe you've lived abroad. Maybe you even speak fairly well, but you want that next level. You want to sound more natural, more confident, more expressive. Shadowing, for you, is about the details. Focus on real conversations with fast speech, casual slang, emotional tone, and real-life spontaneity. Use interviews, stand-up comedy, TED Talks, materials where native speakers are just being themselves. Your job is not just to repeat, but to perform. Act like the speaker. Feel what they're feeling. Use your voice the way they use theirs. This is where shadowing becomes an art form. And when you do it consistently, it pushes your fluency, your pronunciation, and your confidence to levels you never thought possible. So wherever you are, beginner, intermediate, or advanced, shadowing can meet you there and take you further. Just don't compare your journey with others. Go at your pace. Trust the method. Be consistent.
And one more thing, record yourself. Yes, it's awkward. Nobody likes hearing their own voice. But recording is powerful. It shows your progress. It builds your awareness. It helps you fix what's not working. So don't skip it. Remember, shadowing is flexible. You can do it for 5 minutes or 50. While walking, cooking, commuting, it fits into your life. And when you make it a habit, it changes your relationship with English completely. So, what's your level? Beginner, intermediate, advanced? Let me know in the comments section. Let me make this real for you. Imagine you're listening to an actor say, "Look, I'm not saying it was easy, but I had to do it." You hear it, you echo it. "Look, I'm not saying it was easy, but I had to do it." Now again. This time, try the emotion, try the frustration, the determination in that sentence. When you speak like this, you're not just copying, you're acting. You're becoming fluent by living the language. No matter your level, the rule is the same. Choose the right content for you. If it's too fast, slow it down. If it's too simple, step up. If it's too hard, step back. Shadowing is not about perfection. It's about daily repetition, small victories, and progress that builds quietly in the background. And hey, I know it might feel awkward at first, talking to your phone, repeating the same sentence 10 times, but this is exactly how your brain learns best, through repetition, muscle memory, and mimicry. That's how children learn to speak, and that's how you will too. So don't compare your level with anyone else's. Whether you're just starting or already far along, shadowing can push you forward faster than any textbook, grammar rule, or classroom ever will. All you need to do is show up and speak out loud, every single day.
Overcoming the awkwardness. Let's be honest. Shadowing can feel really weird at first. You're standing alone in your room, talking out loud to a podcast or a YouTube video. No one's around. You're repeating phrases in English like some kind of actor in a rehearsal. And suddenly, that little voice in your head starts whispering, "Am I doing this right? This is silly. What if someone hears me? What's the point?" Sound familiar? Listen, this is totally normal. Every learner who's tried shadowing has felt this awkwardness in the beginning. Even I did. I remember the first time I tried it, I felt like I was pretending to be someone else. I couldn't help but laugh at myself. And the moment someone walked into the room, I stopped immediately, embarrassed. But let me tell you something. Awkwardness is part of growth. Every time you step outside your comfort zone, it feels strange because you're breaking old habits, you're building something new, and your brain isn't used to it, yet. That uncomfortable feeling, it's the price of transformation, and it means you're doing something right. You know what doesn't feel awkward? Doing nothing, staying stuck, repeating the same grammar rules in your notebook and never speaking. So yes, shadowing is a bit odd in the beginning, but it's also your path forward. And with time, the weirdness fades, and you'll find something beautiful. Flow. Let me give you some tips to make it easier. First, embrace the awkwardness. Say it out loud. This is weird, and I'm doing it anyway. Laugh at yourself if you need to. That releases tension. Make it part of the fun. You're not doing a performance. You're practicing for yourself. Second, create a private space. Find a quiet corner where you can speak freely without worrying about who's listening. Close the door. Put on your headphones. That little space becomes your language gym, your training zone.
Third, use a muner. I know, now it's really awkward, but hear me out. Looking at yourself as you speak helps build confidence. You become more aware of your mouth, your expressions, your posture, all important parts of speaking fluently. Plus, it helps you connect emotionally to what you're saying. Fourth, start small. Don't try to shadow a full podcast right away. Begin with a single sentence. Pause. Repeat. Focus on your voice, your rhythm, your energy. Gradually build up. Day by day, the sentences will feel more natural. And finally, remember why you are doing this. Think of the job interview you want to succeed in, the trip you want to take, the confidence you want to feel when speaking English with others. Picture it clearly. That's your fuel. That's what pushes you through the strange parts. Let me ask you something. When you first learned to ride a bike, did you look smooth and confident on day one? Of course not. You wobbled. You probably fell, but you kept going. This is the same. And here's a little secret. Even native speakers shadow. Actors do it. Public speakers do it. Voice coaches use it. Because it works. Because it builds rhythm, tone, and presence. You're not doing anything strange. You're training like a pro. So next time you feel silly repeating after me in the podcast, smile and keep going. That awkwardness? It's not a wall. It's a doorway. And guess what's on the other side? Confidence, fluency, freedom. You've got this. And I'm right here with you, awkwardness and all.
What to shadow? Choosing the right materials. One of the most common mistakes English learners make when they first start shadowing is choosing the wrong material. They pick something too advanced, too boring, or completely unrelated to their lives. And what happens? They lose interest. They struggle to keep up. They give up. But if you choose the right materials, the kind that engage your mind, match your level, and reflect how real people speak, shadowing becomes not only effective, but enjoyable. This chapter is all about helping you make smart choices that accelerate your fluency. Let's start with something simple. You don't need textbooks. You need voices, real human voices. Voices that express ideas, emotions, reactions. Voices that show you how English actually sounds in the real world, not how it looks on a page. That's why the best shadowing material is audio or video content spoken by native speakers. You want authentic rhythm, stress, intonation and speed. You're not just learning grammar, you're absorbing the music of English. So, what are your best options? Let's begin with podcasts. These are one of the richest sources for shadowing because they're natural, varied, and easy to access. You can find podcasts about anything: news, love, psychology, fitness, history, storytelling, comedy. If you're a beginner, look for slower-paced podcasts for English learners. If you're intermediate or advanced, go for native podcasts, something like The Daily, Hidden Brain, or even TED Talks Daily. Choose hosts you enjoy listening to. And most importantly, pick topics you care about. Shadowing is much more powerful when the content feels meaningful to you. Next, YouTube videos. These are perfect because they give you both audio and visual context. You can see how the speaker moves their mouth, gestures with their hands, expresses emotion, all of which helps you internalize the language better. Try shadowing vloggers, English teachers, interviews, or short documentaries. A great tip: turn on subtitles if you need help in the beginning, but try not to read. Focus on listening and repeating. You're training your brain to speak, not to read. Then there are audiobooks. These are fantastic for deeper shadowing practice. The speech is often slower and more deliberate, which helps beginners and intermediates. And since audiobooks usually come from written material, you can get the text and follow along, very helpful for understanding tricky parts. A good method is to listen to a short segment, maybe 30 seconds, and shadow it. Pause, repeat it again and again. The more familiar you become with the material, the smoother your speech becomes.
But perhaps the most powerful and often overlooked resource is real native conversations. This means clips from movies, TV shows, or even recordings of real-life dialogue. Why? Because this is how people actually speak when they're relaxed, spontaneous, and emotional. You'll hear slang, contractions, hesitations, filler words like you know, like, all of which are part of natural English. Shadowing these helps you sound like a real person, not a robot. Now, let's talk about how to choose based on your level. If you're a beginner, start with short, slow, clear speech. Children's stories, beginner podcasts, basic dialogue videos are perfect. Don't worry about sounding fast. Focus on getting the sounds right. Mimic the speaker's tone and rhythm as best you can. Repetition is your best friend. If you're intermediate, try longer segments and more natural conversations. You might not catch everything, but that's okay. Focus on phrases, sentence patterns, and linking. Pick material that challenges you, not too easy, not too overwhelming. For advanced learners, the sky's the limit. Shadow fast podcasts, political interviews, academic talks, or drama scenes. Challenge yourself with different accents: American, British, Australian. The goal now is not just fluency, but refinement, mastering the nuance, expression, and emotion of English. And here's a pro tip: follow your curiosity. If you love fitness, shadow fitness videos. If you love history, shadow historical podcasts. If you love motivation, shadow speeches. Your brain remembers better when it enjoys the content. Passion fuels progress. In summary, choose materials that match your level, reflect your interests, and represent real, natural English. You don't need to shadow everything. Just a few minutes a day with the right content will change the way you speak. Don't chase perfection, chase connection. Pick one voice, one video,
one podcast, and start speaking with it, again and again. You'll be amazed at how quickly your English transforms. How long before you see results? Let's talk about one of the most important questions every learner has when trying a new method. How long before I actually see results? It's a fair question. You don't want to waste your time. You want to feel the progress. You want to know that your effort is turning into something real, something useful. The good news is, with shadowing, you will see results. But just like going to the gym, it doesn't happen overnight. It takes consistent effort, honest dedication, and a bit of patience. Still, if you stick with it, even for just a few minutes a day, the transformation in your English fluency will surprise you. In the first week, most learners report small but encouraging wins. You might notice that certain words roll off your tongue a little faster. You'll catch yourself remembering full phrases without thinking. Suddenly, a sentence you used to struggle with comes out smoothly. You'll also begin to recognize common rhythm patterns, the melody of natural English speech. Sure, it might still feel strange talking aloud to your phone or computer, but you're starting to loosen up. That tightness, that hesitation you used to feel when trying to speak, it starts to fade, little by little. After just 7 days of daily shadowing, your brain is already creating faster pathways between understanding and speaking, and that is no small thing. By the second week, the changes go deeper. You may start to feel more confident forming your own sentences outside of shadowing practice. You hear native speakers say something, and your brain goes, "Wait, I can say that too." It becomes easier to follow fast conversations without getting lost. Not because you're memorizing words, but because your brain is finally catching the natural flow of English. You're not just hearing words anymore. You're absorbing chunks, expressions, patterns, the kind that real people use in daily conversation. If you've been consistent, even just 10 or 15 minutes a day, you'll likely be surprised by how much smoother your English feels already.
Now, by the end of the first month, that's when things really get interesting. You'll notice a noticeable boost in your confidence. You'll start speaking without translating. You'll stop overthinking every little word. Instead, your sentences will start to come out more automatically, more naturally. You might even catch yourself thinking in English in certain moments, or answering questions in your head with real fluency. That is shadowing working in real time, rewiring your brain for direct English thinking and speaking. It's no longer just practice, it's becoming part of who you are. But here's the important thing. Progress won't always feel obvious. Some days you'll feel like you're not improving at all. That's normal. It doesn't mean you're failing. In fact, those are often the days when your brain is doing its deepest work behind the scenes, making connections, solidifying what you've practiced. Trust the process. Stay consistent. Remind yourself that fluency isn't built in one big leap. It's built in hundreds of small steps, repeated daily, even when you're tired, even when it feels slow. To help you stay motivated, celebrate small victories. Did you shadow a whole 5-minute video today? Great! Did you understand a sentence in a podcast that used to confuse you? That's progress. Are you starting to sound more like the native speakers you admire? Then you're on the right track. And keep in mind, shadowing isn't just about repeating words. It's about transforming your identity as an English speaker. So how long before you see results? The honest answer is you'll start feeling them in a week, hearing them in 2, and believing them in 4. But only if you stay with it. Give yourself 30 days, just 30, a few minutes a day, and you'll begin to see that speaking fluent English is not some impossible dream. It's a skill, a real achievable skill, and shadowing is your tool to make it happen. Keep going. The results are waiting for you.
Shadowing versus speaking practice. What's the difference? At first glance, shadowing and speaking practice might seem like the same thing. After all, in both cases you're using your voice, forming sentences, and engaging with English. But they are not the same, not even close. And understanding this difference might be the key that finally unlocks your spoken fluency. Let me explain. When most people hear the advice, just practice speaking, they imagine talking with a native speaker, maybe in a class or a language exchange. But here's the problem. If you haven't yet trained your brain and mouth to sound like English, this kind of practice can quickly become overwhelming. You feel anxious, you forget words, and you end up repeating the same broken patterns again and again, solidifying mistakes instead of improving. You're trying to build the house before laying the foundation. That's where shadowing comes in. Shadowing is different because it's not about creating language from scratch. It's about absorbing correct language through repetition. You're not guessing how to speak. You're copying a fluent native speaker exactly, with their pronunciation, their rhythm, their pauses, their intonation. It's like training at the gym with a personal coach showing you perfect form. You don't have to think, you just follow. And with enough repetition, your muscles, your tongue, and your brain start doing it automatically. You might be wondering, but isn't speaking with someone better because it's real? Sure, real conversations are important, eventually. But jumping into free conversation too soon is like stepping into a tennis match without ever learning how to hold the racket. Shadowing builds your form first. It gives you a voice model. It gives you real, native sentences. It teaches you the music of English before you try to sing your own song. Another thing, when you shadow, there's no pressure. You're not being judged. You don't have to think of what to say. You just speak. And that freedom, that mental space, is what helps you finally relax into English. You're training your fluency in a low-stress, high-impact environment. Then, when it's time for real speaking, your brain already knows what to do. So don't skip this step. If you've been practicing speaking and not seeing results, maybe it's because you skipped shadowing. You tried to run before you could walk. But the truth is, shadowing is the walk that teaches you to run. Now that you understand the difference, let's talk about how to build a consistent habit, one that transforms shadowing from an activity into a daily ritual of fluency training. Shadowing success stories. You might still be wondering, okay, I get that shadowing makes sense, but does it actually work? And I get that. We all want proof that something will truly make a difference before we commit to it. So let me share a few real stories. Stories of learners just like you, who went from silent, self-conscious speakers to confident communicators, thanks to the power of shadowing. Let's start with Ana, a nurse from Brazil. For years, Ana had studied English. grammar books, vocabulary lists, even online classes. But when it came to speak, her mind would go blank. She told me that every conversation felt like a test she was failing. Then she discovered shadowing. At first, she felt silly repeating YouTube videos out loud in her bedroom, but she pushed through the awkwardness and made it a daily habit. 3 weeks later, she joined an online group call with international nurses, and to her surprise, she spoke naturally without freezing. She said it felt like the words were just there, ready to come out. That's what shadowing does. It trains your tongue and your brain until English becomes second nature. Then there's Farid, a university student from Morocco. He had a dream to study abroad in Canada, but every time he had a speaking interview, he felt robotic. "I sound like Google Translate," he once joked. So he started shadowing TED Talks for 10 minutes a day. Not just repeating the words, but mimicking the energy and emotion of the speakers. Slowly, his voice changed. His confidence grew. And a few months later, he aced his IELTS speaking test with a near-native accent. He didn't memorize answers. He didn't rehearse fake phrases. He just let the English he had internalized through shadowing flow out. And then there's May, a shy teenager from Taiwan who loved K-dramas but hated English class. Her teacher told her she'd never be good at speaking because she was too quiet. But May found a podcast she liked, and every day she walked around her neighborhood with headphones in, shadowing, episode after episode. No pressure, no grammar drills, no judgment. Just her voice blending with the speaker's voice, like singing along to a favorite song. Today, May leads her school's English club. She doesn't just speak, she commands attention with her voice, all thanks to the quiet power of shadowing. These stories are not miracles. They are the result of a simple, repeatable process: listening, repeating, and doing it again. No fancy apps, no native teacher, just your voice, a good audio, and your decision to keep going even when it feels strange. So if you've ever felt stuck, if you've ever stared at someone speaking fluent English and thought, "I'll never get there," remember Anna, Farid, and May. They started where you are, and they didn't wait to feel ready. They didn't chase perfection. They shadowed, they spoke, and they changed their story. Now the question is, will you be the next success story?
Your 7-day shadowing challenge. All right, now that you've learned all about shadowing, how it works, why it works, and how to do it right, it's time to stop just learning and start doing. Are you ready to take action? Welcome to your 7-day shadowing challenge. This is where things get real. For 1 week, I'll walk you through exactly what to do, day by day. You don't need a lot of time. You don't need perfect English. You just need about 10 to 15 minutes a day, your voice, and your determination. And yes, you can do this even if you're a complete beginner. Day 1. Choose your voice. Let's begin with one small but powerful step: choosing your first piece of content. Find a short video, podcast clip, or audio in English, no more than 1 minute long. Make sure it's something you enjoy. Maybe a scene from a movie, a podcast episode, a YouTube clip, or even one of my episodes here on English Talk Show. The only rule: it must have clear audio and natural native English. Once you've chosen your clip, listen to it several times. Don't repeat yet. Just listen.
Get familiar with the rhythm, intonation, and emotion of the speaker. Pro tip: use subtitles if you need to, but don't rely on them. Focus on the sound and the feeling. Day 2, repeat after me, but with training wheels. Today, we shadow, but with training wheels. Play your clip again, but this time, pause after each sentence or phrase and repeat it aloud. Try to copy everything: the speed, the emotion, the melody of the sentence, even the little hesitations or sighs if there are any. This is where your muscles start learning. Your tongue, lips, and brain are finally speaking English, not just thinking about it.
Day 3. Real shadowing begins. Now we step it up. No more pausing. You'll play the audio and speak at the same time as the speaker, just like an echo. Yes, it will feel messy. Yes, you will fall behind, but that's okay. This is the real magic of shadowing. Just keep going. Don't worry about being perfect. Worry about being engaged. You're not trying to memorize. You're training your ears and your mouth to connect. Day 4. Record yourself. It's time to hear yourself in English. Shadow your clip again, but now record yourself as you do it. Any voice recorder will work. Then, listen to it. I know, it might feel weird. You might cringe. That's normal. But when you hear yourself trying, struggling, and slowly improving, you start seeing that yes, you are speaking English. Even if it's not perfect yet, it's progress. Day 5. New clip, same game. Today, choose a new clip. Keep it short, 30 seconds to 1 minute. Repeat the same process. Listen, pause, and repeat. Shadow without pausing. Record yourself if you can. You're now getting used to different voices, tones, and expressions. You're not memorizing English, you're living it.
Day 6. Add emotion. Now that you're more comfortable, it's time to add life. Today, I want you to act while shadowing. Feel what the speaker feels. Are they excited? Angry? Calm? Curious? Shadow the emotion, not just the words. This will make your English more natural, more alive, and more you. This is the secret sauce that makes native speakers sound so different. It's not just grammar, it's emotion in motion. Day 7. Celebrate your voice. You made it. Today, go back to your first recording. Listen to it. Then, record yourself again shadowing the same clip. Compare the two. Can you hear the difference? Can you feel how much more confident, faster, and expressive you've become in just 1 week? That's what shadowing does. That's what you've done. And this is only the beginning. What's next? Now that you've completed the challenge, don't stop. Shadowing is not a one-week tool, it's a long-term friend. Keep going with new clips every week. Mix it up. Repeat your favorites. Try longer dialogues. Follow podcasts, TV shows, or episodes here on English Talk Show. And if you want some help choosing materials, I've got you covered. Check the episode notes for links to my top shadowing recommendations, a curated list of beginner-friendly clips, a 30-day shadowing tracker to keep your momentum going.
Final thoughts. Your voice matters. Let me say something from the heart, and I want you to really hear it, not just with your ears, but with your whole being. Your voice matters. Yes, yours. The one that may still stumble when speaking English. The one that hesitates or stays silent in a conversation. That voice? It matters, and it deserves to be heard. It carries your story, your dreams, your thoughts, your personality. English is just the tool. You are the message. Learning a language is never just about words. It's about unlocking the part of you that's been waiting to come alive. And I know this journey is not always easy. There will be days when you feel stuck, when your mouth doesn't keep up with your brain, when you feel like quitting because it seems like you're not improving. But let me tell you something I've learned from teaching and from learning other languages myself. Progress is always happening, even when it's invisible. Your brain is wiring new connections. Your ears are tuning in. Your mouth is remembering the shapes of the sounds. Every repetition is building fluency, little by little. So please, don't stop. When it feels hard, when you think, this isn't working, that's often the moment right before the breakthrough. Keep showing up. Keep shadowing. Keep speaking, even if it's to your bathroom mirror, your steering wheel, or your bedroom wall. You're not just repeating sentences, you are becoming a speaker, a communicator, a confident version of yourself. And remember, this isn't about sounding perfect or becoming someone else. It's about being able to express who you are, fully, freely, and without fear. Shadowing is your tool, your daily practice, your superpower. And if you trust the process, if you stay consistent, even just 15